right, we're going to talk about the new card that is coming to the game today, and that is Shadow King. On reveal, set all cards here to their original base power. So I think this is an important video because this is a somewhat confusing mechanic on what this interacts with and what it does not interact with. And largely, this plays out very similar to that of Valkyrie, but we need to talk about it because I think people might be surprised on what cards this is going to be countered. Now, even if you're not going to be buying this card for 6,000 collector tokens, I think it's important to understand how it works, and we're going to go over various cards that this does work against and cards that it does not. And simply put, you know, I see that this is going to work well in a Zabu deck because he's 4 cost, and it's also going to work well, you know, with Darkhawk because it doesn't affect the Darkhawk. And we'll get into why here in a minute. So the thing is that it does all the cards in the lane. So your cards and their cards. And so probably this particular card is going to work the best with cards with ongoing abilities. We'll talk about it. It's very similar to that of Valkyrie. Valkyrie decks also, on reveal, set all cards at this location to 3 power. So I see that there's 2 things that are make it similar. The effect is similar to that in Valkyrie. Valkyrie usually takes advantage of playing in a deck with ongoing abilities. The other thing that I want to say is I think that both of these cards have advantages to be playing second, the same way that you want to play like Shang-Chi last or Enchantress last on turn 6. Let's talk about what this card is going to do well against in countering. It's going to counter cards like Sunspot when this is played in a lane that is Sunspot. So both your Sunspot and their Sunspot will have their power reset back to 1. Fantastic. Now notice that this is not an ongoing ability. This is just I don't know what to call these abilities. It just says gain +1 power for each unspent energy. It's not an ongoing effect. Same thing is true for Bishop. When you play a card, this gains +1 power. When Shadow King is placed in the same lane as Bishop, Bishop will be reset back to 1. It's going to work great. Angela will get reset back to 0. Any card boosted by an on reveal effect. So like any card that gets +2 power from Ironheart will drop back to their original power. Cards like Mr. Negative, where the power is flipped, they will revert back to their original power. So like Iron Man is a 5 cost 0. Mr. Negative flips him, he will go back to being 0. Black Panther, on reveal, double this card power. He will go from being an 8 back to 4, right? Any card boosted by Shuri, this is an on reveal effect, will revert back to their original power. So if you are playing up against a 30 power Red Skull, placing him in that lane with that boosted Red Skull will drop him back to 15. Any card that was copied by Taskmaster will revert back to 0. That seems kind of fun. And then also, you know, you got like Apocalypse. Now, we're going to talk about some cards that in theory this should work well against, but I think it's going to hard to pull it off. I think Apocalypse is one of those cards right there because you would have to play it second, right? But this is a card that gets boosted to +4 power. So now this will make no impact on Dracula. Dracula would procs at the end of the game, so this is not going to do anything to Dracula at all. Cards like Carnage are going to revert back to 2, or Venom, even better, revert back to 1. Oh my God. Any card that is negatively affected by Hazmat will be offset. So this can offset Hazmat. Now, here's a couple cards that I think are going to be situational. I know a lot of people want a counter to Silver Surfer, but that is going to depend on having or not having priority. We're going to talk about that a little bit, but like Spectrum is a card on reveal. Give your ongoing cards +2 power. So all the cards that are given the +2 power by Spectrum's on reveal effect will be reset back to their original power. And the thing about that, though, is then their ongoing abilities are going to be added back to them, because this will not affect ongoing abilities. It only is going to affect on reveal abilities, or like gain 1+ power because you skipped a turn, the energy from Sunspot, things like that. So for this to work against, let's say, Silver Surfer, on reveal, give your other 3-cost cards +3 power, you would have to play it second. So priority is determined by who is winning the turn before. So if you're going into turn 6 losing, then your opponent plays Silver Surfer, it procs, you place it into the lane that has the broods, and the broods are going to revert back to their original power. So I think that is good, but it feels situational. And that's why we're going to talk about an upcoming card that may work well with Shadow King that is not out yet. Cards it will not work against is Devil Dino. This is an ongoing ability. So the ongoing ability, let's just say, reapplies itself. So the base power of Devil Dino is 3. So it resets it to 3, but it already was at 3. And then the ongoing ability is kind of like a static effect, kind of like a location. It won't do anything against these locations. The locations are continuous, and they're like reapplying, if you will. And so this is not going to destroy a big Devil Dino. Now, if for some reason the Devil Dino is given 2 extra power from Ironheart, yes, it'll get rid of that 2 extra power from Ironheart. Same thing. This is kind of why Shuri does not necessarily interact with Devil Dino. If you put a Shuri on turn 4 and you play Devil Dino on turn 3, Devil Dino is boosted from 3 to 6, then it gets its static ongoing ability. So if you played Shadow King into a lane where that situation happened, it would lose the 3 power from Shuri. It would revert back to being a 3 power card, but then it's still going to get its ongoing ability. Same thing with Blue Marvel. The ongoing ability is static. So typically in Valkyrie decks, there is this inherent synergy with cards like Blue Marvel, and some people are building Valkyrie decks and maybe even Shadow King decks around ongoing abilities. So basically it's going to negate abilities and power increases from on reveal abilities, and then also abilities similar to that of Sunspot, where it just says gain +1 power. Let's see what else we got to talk about. Morbius will not be affected by Shadow King. So, and then the locations will not be affected. Cards here have -1 power. It won't change anything, that the cards there will still have -1 power. Now, I just wanted to talk about cards that like to be played on turn 6 and not have priority. And the card that may facilitate that is going to be Ghost, which is a card that's going to be, Series 5 when she comes out, and ongoing, your cards here are always revealed last. Same thing as not having priority. So priority is when your name is glowy as opposed to your opponent is glowy. So like if we look at the screen right here, you can see that my opponent name is in gold. They had priority. I did not have priority. And that's determined by the turn before, who was basically winning the game at that time. So there's a couple cards that I think really like to go second. And there's decks that like to go second. Shadow King is a card that would like to go second. Valkyrie is a card that would like to go second. But more common cards that people are playing with are going to be Shang-Chi. Turn 6, you know they're going to play Infinite, let's say. They play the Infinite. You do not have priority. Your Shang-Chi blows up their Infinite, right? That feels good. Not having priority is important to Shang-Chi. Also, it's important to cards for Enchantress. If you want to affect cards that are played on the same turn as Enchantress, you do not want to have priority. most cards in the game, I think you do want to have priority, like Cosmo and things like that. This is also why Galactus decks like having priority. Now, I don't know if you've heard this or not, but the nerf from taking Galactus from 3 power to 2 power actually was a buff. Galactus players want to play last on turn 6. That way you can't blow up their death. That way you can't blow up their null. That way they can blow up your big card by playing Shang-Chi on the last turn or whatever they're going to be doing. So this is going to be a thing, I think, going forward in certain situations with not going first. So what do I think about Shadow King? Will I be buying him for 6,000 tokens? Before I give my answer, I just want to say that collector tokens are valuable. Once you are Pool 3 complete, you get about 5,000 a month through normal gameplay. Let's say if you are a free-to-play player. If you are inside of Pool 3, you are getting about 1,000 a month. Now, if you are Pool 3 complete and you want to get more than one Series 5 card a month and you're willing to pay and buy gold, refresh all of your missions, you can spend about $20 a day and get extra credits. It basically works out that 6,000 collector tokens is worth about $200. It costs $200 to get an additional 6,000 collector tokens. Do I think that Shadow King is situationally good? Absolutely. Will I be willing to spend at $200 or use my only choice for the month? Because, like, let's say I get about 6,000 for free through normal gameplay, right? So that I could choose one card. That is not going to be a Shadow King card. I could be wrong, but unless there is some sort of new meta around Shadow King, that remains to be seen. But to me, he's going to be too situational, and I will not be personally spending 6,000 collector tokens. My mind can be changed, of course, but for right now, I don't see the value in spending 6,000 collector tokens on Shadow King. There's other cards I rather look into. What do you think? Are you excited about Shadow King, or is this just another card that has been introduced to the game? To me, it feels a lot like Valkyrie. Cool, situational, does some interesting things. Maybe there will be more cards in the future coming like Ghost that'll make them better. But for now, I'm okay with not owning this card. Let me know what you think in the comment section. And as always, thanks for watching. Keep on gaming.